Hello there, everybody, and today for my movie review, I'm going to be doing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So, I recently wanted to get into the Harry Potter books, and I reread the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, wherever you live. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed the Sorcerer's Stone on reread. I still remember the stuff I read since I did read the book back in 2020. During lockdown, I decided to check out Harry Potter, but for some reason I didn't check out the other books, only a little bit of the Chamber Secrets. But I definitely plan to read the Chamber Secrets soon. And with finishing the Sorcerer's Stone, I decided to watch the movie. And with Harry Potter getting a HBO series that got announced, so this is the perfect time to talk about the first Harry Potter movie that came out back in 2001. So a lot of the Harry Potter cast are like older now. They're fully grown adults. But back in this movie, they were like only teenagers or barely teenagers. And this movie's really good. If you're like a diehard Harry Potter fan, I think this movie's definitely your cup of tea. But I did watch a Chris Stuckman review of this movie. But I thought his review was pretty good. There were some things I didn't agree with, but I think Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is easily one of the best Harry Potter movies of all time. I definitely like the Deathly Hallows, since that movie was really dark and a great finale to the Harry Potter world. But for this movie, it's the early start to the introduction of Harry Potter, where he is dropped off as a baby after his parents, spoilers, unfortunately got murdered by the infamous, who shall not be named, Voldemort. He becomes the big protagonist throughout these movies, but at the early start of this movie, we do find out the big twist about him later, which I'll get into. But basically, Harry is forced to live with his aunt and uncle and cousin, who are very awful people to him. They basically just favor Harry's cousin Dudley, and they just spoil him even on his birthday. But after some magic happens, basically his aunt and uncle lock him in his basement, and Harry starts to get letters from Hogwarts Castle to come to the school of wizardry. And probably one of my favorite scenes in this movie is where Harry gets the letter, but then after it gets torn up, more start to show up, and then eventually a whole pile of them just start ramaging his whole house. And that scene was easily one of the best. It causes his aunt and uncle to move all the way to a log cabin until a mysterious Hagrid shows up. Rest in peace to Robbie Chairman. Sorry if I got his name wrong, but he unfortunately passed away not that long ago, and he is easily the best Hagrid. He just looks gigantic, and he just looks like someone you want to hug. But basically, he finally does give Harry his letter, and he's basically going to be recruited at Hogwarts Castle. But his aunt and uncle don't approve, since they basically view wizardry as weird, and they even call Harry's own mom a freak over it. But that all changes when Hagrid gives Dudley a taste of his own medicine when he gets a pig tail, which I thought was hilarious. But Harry basically goes with Hagrid to a small mini mall town, whatever you want to call it, where he's going to get all his wizardry stuff. And it turns out Harry actually has a whole fountain of money from his parents to basically buy all the stuff he needs to get his wizardry stuff. He gets his wand, which I thought was super cool. But some people probably don't like that they have to set up everything for Harry Potter, but that makes sense for the story, since we want to understand these characters in the world of Hogwarts. And I think it follows the book really well, since I was noticing the lines they used from the books into this movie. There are some changes as you watch this, just like any movie adaptation from a book. But Harry gets all his stuff he needs. And then when he finally does go to the Hogwarts train, he basically bumps into Ron Weasley, played by Robert Grant. It was so cool to see Ron in this, because once the trio, the awesome Harry Potter trio, meet, if they actually really do bond as the three of them, it really works as a trio. We also meet Hermione, played by the amazing Emma Watson. But Hermione is mainly known for being bossy and smart about everything, but once she starts to develop, we see a different side to her, of course. But we do see the awesome Hogwarts train. But Harry basically has to go there by sneaking through a passageway of the train station, and that's where he does go on the train with Ron and Hermione, and that's where they all meet. But I love the little lore details about Harry Potter, where they just have simple things like chocolate frogs, which are basically chocolate but frogs, and it comes with like a famous Hogwarts teacher, professor. But once the characters do arrive at Hogwarts, it just looks amazing. The music, composed by the amazing John Williams, it really works with the world of Harry Potter. But once they do get to Hogwarts, the building just looks so stunning. There's just so much to look at. A bunch of stairs are able to move. There's ghosts. There's paintings that talk. It's just so creative, since they had to build this world really well. But this is where we do see the other tribes of Hogwarts castles. And you're probably wondering what my Hogwarts house is. I'm a Hufflepuff. I took the test and I got Hufflepuff. I feel that suits me a lot. Honestly, I'd love to draw like a fan art of myself as a Hufflepuff. But you can comment below what your house is. But honestly, I don't know what I prefer, Harry Potter or X-Men, or which school you prefer. You can comment below. But once we do meet the various tribes of the Hogwarts houses, we basically get introduced to like the Hat. I think the person who played the Hat unfortunately passed away, since a lot of these Harry Potter actors unfortunately are getting older, and they unfortunately passed away. And it's being greeted by Professor Mongol. I'm sorry, I got her name wrong, but she's played by the legendary Maggie Smith, who also unfortunately passed away. And she's easily one of the best professors in this whole school. She basically puts the hat on each of the characters, and then they get their tribes. But Harry's worried that he's going to get Slytherin, since that's the evil one, or the bad ones. But basically his arch rival, Draco Malfoy, played by the awesome Tom Felton, who he doesn't even have to get his, like, the hat doesn't even have to touch him to basically get Slytherin. But once Harry gets the hat on, he basically does get Gryffindor for bravery. But yeah, that's what I really like about the world of Harry Potter. Which Hogwarts house are you? But once they do get everything settled, we get just a bunch of cool scenes of like what the classes are like. We do meet Professor Snape, played by the amazing Alan Rickman. Also, rest in peace. But he basically despises Harry for whatever reason. We later learn why as the series goes on. But yeah, Alan Rickman kicks ass as Professor Snape. But a lot of fun stuff happen. We do see like the infamous broom scene where Harry goes onto the broom to chase Malfoy after he steals one of their classmates, Neville's, who got like a birthday present from his parents, and he basically, I think it was from his grandma. But basically Harry chases him around the Hogwarts building as they learn how to use their brooms, and Harry was expertly able to use his broom, and it catches the attention of Professor Mongol, who basically introduces Oliver Wood, who is basically like the leader of the games in Harry Potter, the world of Hogwarts, which it's called Quidditch, which is basically kind of like football, but on broomsticks. But they basically found the Seeker, which is revealed to be Harry. But a lot of wild things happen in this movie, where the the trio end up, after having a little disagreement during class, they basically, during Halloween, they encounter a troll, which gets summoned randomly, and it almost kills Hermione, but Harry's able to stop him with Ron, but it catches the attention of the professors as they drop points from Gryffindor. They basically are fighting to get points to get the House Cup for Hogwarts, and it's basically like kind of like a video game where the highest score wins. But the victory catches the attention of the professors, where Harry and Ron are able to get points for Gryffindor. But probably the most wild scene is the Quidditch match, where we do see Harry go up on his first Quidditch with Oliver Wood, and he basically doesn't even remember when he played Quidditch, because his first match, he basically got knocked out during the game, which was wild. But once we do see the Quidditch scenes, yeah, some of the scenes don't really hold up. I definitely agree with Chris Stuckman's take on the Quidditch scenes, since some of them kind of do look outdated, since they had to do what the best they could to make these scenes happen. But yeah, Harry on the broom, you can kind of just tell they're using green screen to do these scenes, but I can't blame them, since it probably was super hard to film them on a broomstick, even if you played like the Lego Harry Potter games, which are also amazing games, by the way. Unfortunately, you can't play Quidditch in that game, but you just play as Ron and Hermione. But Harry basically almost dies during Quidditch because it looks like someone's controlling his broom, and Hermione thought it was Snape who was doing it, but we do find out later who was really behind Harry's attempted fail at Quidditch. But once we do get through the holidays, we basically see Harry stay at Hogwarts for Christmas with Ron, and they get their presents. They get sweaters from Ron's mom, which I thought was nice. But probably my favorite gimmick in this movie is where Harry gets the invisibility cloak, and he's basically able to disguise himself. But the main plot point of this movie is the Sorcerer's Stone, where it's basically a secret thing in Hogwarts that the main villain is trying to get. But once Harry starts to figure things out through Hagrid tries not to tell Harry too much secret information, but he ends up spilling about the Sorcerer's Stone and who wants it. It leads to Harry wanting to go on an investigation to find out who it is. That's where he does put on the invisibility cloak, and he does see Snape and the dude with the cat who sneaks around Hogwarts to find out who's trespassing out of their dorms. But those scenes were definitely wild for sure. But Harry basically almost gets caught until he's able to find out the secrets a little bit. But the main thing that does go on in this movie is where Harry, Hermione, and Ron, once school's back in session, they basically get in trouble after meeting up with Hagrid after he finds like a dragon egg, and he's going to use the egg to have it as a pet. But of course, Draco Malfoy sees it, and you just want to grab Draco Malfoy and just shake him because of how awful he acts. But he basically snitches out to Professor Mongol about it, and the trio basically get in trouble, and they get 50 points taken off Gryffindor House Cup, my bad. But they feel that's unfair, and it is unfair, since the trio was just trying to find out information about the Sorcerer's Stone. But basically, they have to find a way to get their points back, but they're forced to go into the woods area, where we get a bunch of wild scenes where we see like a death of a unicorn. Not the movie that came out recently, but we see the first glimpse of Voldemort, where he's wearing a hood and he's draining the energy out of the unicorns. But we do see like a dude who has who's like a horse. Like, I forget what those people are called, with people with the bodies of a horse. But the CGI doesn't really hold up, but the character looked cool as he was given a message to Harry about his destiny, of course. But once they do find out about the Sorcerer's Stone, they basically find the keys for it, and they have to go through a large dog with 3 heads that can basically that is guarding the Sorcerer's Stone. But they try to tell Professor Mongol, but she doesn't believe them. But they want to tell Dumbledore. I completely forgot to mention Dumbledore. So sorry. But Dumbledore, I forget who he's played by, but he died all the way back in 2002. Just a few years after these 2 movies came out. But yeah. The main thing they try to do is they're going to try to convince Dumbledore to help them out, but they have to go on their own. And this is where we do get the finale, where they're basically found a secret through Hagrid that they basically gotta tame the dog by just making him fall asleep, and then the trio basically find their way into the dungeon of the Sorcerer's Stone, and they go through the trials. They go through like a sort of like vine pit that basically you can only escape if you are relaxed. But the trio managed to escape with Ron freaking out, of course. But yeah, they basically free him. But the next trial is that they have to play chess. And one of Ron's favorite hobbies is that he's really good at chess. So he's the one that leads the chess match. And it's actually a pretty cool scene with seeing all the chess pieces move. But Ron basically has to sacrifice himself for Harry to continue. But I even like the scene where Hermione basically says, like, "Oh, Harry, you're the chosen one. I'm the only one that's in the books." But Harry basically just assures her that they're both great wizards. In the book, they have to drink, like, a potion to get in to the door where they think Snape... Because they think Snape is behind this Sorcerer's Stone thing. They think he wants it just so he can unleash Voldemort. But it turns out it's a completely different professor. But Harry encounters Professor, I forget his name. He's the dude with the purple hat. That's what I'm going to call him. But he's basically behind the whole thing. But he even says, like, "Oh, it was all an act. It was all an act." Pretending to be the good teacher. But basically, he reveals that Voldemort has possessed him. One side is the professor's face, and the other is Voldemort. It looks super creepy. But basically, he wants the Sorcerer's Stone so he can regain his form and take over Hogwarts. But Harry's not going to let that happen. And he makes him try to look through a mirror, which I forgot to also mention. Harry does look through a mirror earlier in the movie where he sees his parents. And I thought that scene was nice, but Harry is basically able to see the Sorcerer's Stone, and he grabs it, and somehow appears in his pocket, and he's able to defeat the professor and Voldemort, and yeah, he turns the ashes instantly, and we get a bunch of fire pit scenes. It just looks super cool to look at, but Harry does pass out. And because of these deeds, they're able to actually save themselves from Gryffindor losing against Slytherin, where Harry does wake up in the hospital and he's fine. And of course, the other 2 are fine and they reunite. But they're afraid they're going to lose Hogwarts. But it turns out Dumbledore was able to use the last few points just for all 3 of them for their bravery. For everything that went down. I had this random nitpick. I thought Harry deserved a lot more points than 60 for saving the whole... He basically saved the whole Hogwarts castle. But they basically were tied with Slytherin, who almost won. But because of Neville, who tried to stop Harry, Ron, and Hermione from stopping Voldemort, his bravery granted them 10 more points. And they basically won the House Cup, which I thought was nice. But the movie does end with Harry finally able to go home. But he's ready to use some magic on his cousin, of course, which I thought was funny, just like in the book. But that's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It is definitely a great movie. Some scenes don't really hold up. as I said, but those are just nitpicks. But overall, it doesn't ruin my experience with this movie. I think Daniel Radcliffe is really great as Harry Potter. I couldn't see anyone else as this character. I don't know how they're going to do it in the new HBO show. I know they're trying to keep Harry Potter relevant by doing this HBO series, since I don't think anything could beat these amazing books and these movies. I may not like J.K. Rowling because of her political views, but overall, I think Harry Potter is a great franchise to love. So, yeah. I definitely give this movie definitely a 9 out of 10 for sure. So, yeah. What do you think of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? If I do finish the Chamber of Secrets, which will probably be in the far future, we'll just have to wait and see. So, yeah, that's my movie review of this week, and I'm excited to talk about whatever movie I feel like reviewing. So, yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.